Guys, welcome back. All right, so happy Tuesday. It is time for a Cancerian video. I try to put these out on Tuesdays and Saturdays. Also, obviously, we are in the midst of this full moon. It rose officially last night, like just a little bit before midnight, so we're still like in the throes of this full moon. Now, it also happens to be a super moon, Cancerians, and so that means that the moon is closer to the Earth. It's at perigee, as they say, and so it means that it's going to appear brighter, bigger, but also amplify the energies of a full moon. And in particular, this, by the way, this is the harvest moon. But in particular, this is a time where, like, symbolically speaking, can have a bigger impact on things like emotions and subconscious and instinct. So with that in mind, we're going to ask what's kind of being pulled up from the depths. And we shall see. I was trying to get you guys a video yesterday just to like get it in a little bit before the full moon, but I'm sorry, I couldn't do it. I had to do it for you today. So but Tuesday's usually your day anyway. So hopefully that still smooths things out and works out good. So we have a high priestess and we have the tower. Talk about the intuition coming to the surface. I feel like not only for Cancer, but for someone else as well, possibly an Aries. We do also, of course, have Cancer sitting right here in front of us, but also with a blend of some Pisces and Virgo energy. There is a deep intuitive awareness that maybe between two people, almost like crisis had to happen before they would find their way back to each other's side again. Now, oftentimes the tower is about, massive collapse, and it's when the universe helps us to remove something that is unnecessary so then we can move forward. So any kind of like ending that actually turns out to have been a necessary ending, it looks like it's all for the best, and it actually is what brings two people back around to one another. And if Cancer is kind of aware of this in this moment, it's like, honestly, it means I'll see this person again, or it means that we could strengthen a connection. Now, this could be a collapse of ego, or this can be something that the universe assisted with. Like everything went belly up, but it was all for good reason. Lots of things in life, have to reach a point. If we were building something on unstable ground, it's going to collapse anyway, but then it gives us a chance to rebuild better. Four of Pentacles is upright. Gotta say, there's this energy of, in this moment of time, maybe the thing that Cancer has been doing is just resting, and they're realizing why they've been resting. Four of Pentacles is where we hold back, but maybe Cancerian needed to hold back. Maybe they needed to catch their breath for a moment, and it could be because it's in preparation for the next chapter, the next thing. We have a King of Wands upright. We have a Page of Pentacles in the reverse. This almost feels like Cancer is saying, I've become aware that for myself and a partner to get things back on track, I needed to withdraw. So part of this collapse was, I'm not going to put in more energy. I'm going to withdraw and allow them the opportunity to step into their, in this case, King's energy. And the King's energy is, masculine energy, which is the energy of the sun. That's, I project forward. Cancer is clearly in the energy of the moon right now, which is the feminine energy. And it just says Cancer is aware that they needed to allow a collapse to occur, withdraw, and give the other individual, in this case the masculine, an opportunity to step into their greatest version of themselves without cajoling, without correcting, without explaining to them what they needed to do. Just let them do it. And I kind of think that this separation time, because it does look like these two may have had a time period where there was a collapse, even if Cancer is like, oh, I still love them though. I don't want there to be a collapse between us. But on the other hand, it was a reset button. Yeah, it does look like Cancer has been, brokenhearted, especially if there was a collapse of a relationship due to maybe some ego, put two people into separation. That could have been really painful, but better to let the separation occur and allow, especially a King of Wands, to like really evolve into who they want to be. But look at what it did for Cancer also. Cancer shifted into their Empress energy. Now, I never care what genders we're talking about, but right now, Cancer is coming across as a feminine. Doesn't have to be, though. Bear in mind, this could be same-sex couple, reverse gender roles. Cancer has shifted into Empress energy by holding back and saying, no, I'm not going to be put in a position of chasing, or I'm not going to try to fix things between us. I'm going to allow things to fall apart. I'm going to allow us to go into separation instead of me fighting for a connection, because I have to allow the other person to step into their greatest energy so they can, on their own motivation, make their way back to me. Or I got to be willing to let them go completely if that's not what they do, but they need to step into their power. And I kind of think that that is an Empress move, right? Empresses are like, I let people be who they need to be. I let them learn what they need to learn. I do, I don't want somebody telling me what I need to do, how I need to evolve, what changes I need to make. I love the fact that Cancer is like so not controlling. In this story, this Cancerian recognized the only way we could ever successfully possibly come back together is if I completely let this whole thing drop. Let the relationship drop, stop texting, stop calling them, stop trying to patch things together, stop trying to sit down and talk things out with them, but instead let it fall. And in that free fall moment, give someone else the respect of saying, whatever they want to do, they have to make a decision and then they have to pursue it. And if it's me that they want to pursue, excellent. If it's not, then look, I still have to release them, even if it pains me to do so. And that's such an Empress boss move to say, I don't control, I don't guide. My role is not to tell a partner how to evolve. They get to choose whatever they want. And if they choose to return into my world and they're, coming and offering me something, now we're on equal footing. Sure enough, we do have the Six of Cups, but we still have the Hermit that is sideways right now. I would say this. It doesn't say that two people are on their way back to each other. It just says Cancer is having this deep intuitive awareness that the only way that our connection can ever be powerful and can ever be like the two of us standing shoulder to shoulder is by me releasing and not saying, here's what I want. I want us to stand together. I'm going to fight and fight and fight to try to get you to stand beside me. Nope. Cancerian's like, I know that we could be good together, but not with me manufacturing it or not with me trying to guide them toward it. They have to pick it completely, which means I have to step back. And it just kind of says, I feel like in this silence, in this gap of time, we can see lots of deep thoughts going on. He could be a Virgo, by the way. But I think both characters have been thinking long and hard about this. Both characters have been thinking about like an equitable relationship. And I wonder if in this storyline, there was never equality between them. And that could have been an issue. Maybe it was like a maturity issue. Maybe it was, sometimes two people are just not at the same spot for what they want in life. They're not both, prepared for this, to stand side by side. Sometimes two people can be attracted to each other, love each other, but one is also still in the exploratory phase of their life. And the other one is like, no, I'm ready to be in a building phase of my life. I know what I want to build. And instead of saying, let me just give you the blueprints and tell you this is what you're going to build with me, Cancer did this really beautiful, sophisticated thing by saying, I don't ever want to hand somebody else the blueprints and tell them what the empire is going to look like. And they just need to get on board. I'm not in a relationship to be the foreman of a crew. If somebody's not ready to co-create with me and really build because they want to with me, then I release them completely. But what's so interesting is during this time of silence, these two have both been thinking about the relationship. They've both been thinking heavily about what this soulmate connection looks like, feels like. Obviously, the story's not over, not for either of them. He's been heavily steeped in this energy, Can we just see on his side what's going on? The devil in the chariot. Okay, so he's rereading all kinds of messages. And I don't think that these two are talking. They're both rereading things. They're both heavily steeped in, like, okay, hang on. What went wrong? What words were spoken? What misinterpretations occurred? This is kind of great because it's also somebody he's definitely sitting in the lap of the devil on this card, right? But she's sitting right next to it. So it's like both of them got pulled into some kind of toxic tit for tat for a little bit, but they're both reflecting on it. And he in particular is looking, and sometimes it's great to have like old text messages and emails and such, just because we can reread and things hit different. My personal rule for even anything that I write, because I'm a writer and a storyteller, I go back and I reread what I wrote 3 days later, because that's when I've almost forgotten it was me that wrote it, and I can reread it with fresh eyes. 3 days is my rule. That's when I have new perspective. If I try to read it 3 hours later, it still is too much. I'm the author of it. But if I can step back, just for some reason, 72 hours is like a nice mind wipe for me. And I think it's so important to go back and reread things and then ask oneself, is that what I meant to say? Or did I interpret their response right? And what we're seeing is he's going, oh man, there were some things that were really toxic. And he's sitting in the lap of the devil going, I was either responding out of fear, or there were things that I said that's not what I meant. That's not the way I should have said things. And then we see him taking like this charge forward, right, with the chariot. He's clear now on what he'd like to say. He's clear on, you notice loyalty is what's here, and this is Cancerian all day. I kind of feel like Cancerian stepping back in this gracious way has allowed not only like the dust to settle, but has allowed for two people to evaluate, what does this really mean to them? What went wrong in the past? He's certainly rereading everything, and he's getting pretty clear. Maybe he was afraid. Maybe he was afraid that Cancerian was in a more mature space than he was in. All I can say is at this point, we see him very clear, or we see that he knows Cancerian was very clear. Cancerian was saying, I'm ready to move forward and have this, shoulder to shoulder partnership. Maybe he was afraid of, like, let's put it this way, let's put it in this context. If sometimes we'll like work at a place and a boss is like, okay, great, you're doing good in this position that you were hired for. But you know what? Let's say you're a computer programmer and you work, kind of like solo and you're doing your thing. But then the boss says, hey, there's this upcoming tech seminar, and there is going to be like a huge event. There'll be 20,000 people. You're going to be representing, you're going to be giving a talk on your programming that we've got you doing. And it's like, excuse me, I didn't sign up for public speaking. This is petrifying. You can't tell me that just because I'm good at this, you think I'm going to be able to do that. And it's like, nope, I'm gonna tap out and pretend I'm sick. I'm not going to that seminar. I don't do public speaking. That's a big fear of mine. You think I'll be great at it. You think I can do this. The boss has total confidence in me. They're proud of me. They like me. I know that they think that they're telling me, by giving me this new, task of speaking at a seminar, they think they're doing me like a huge compliment. It could even come with a money bump. It could come with all kinds of perks. And it's like, I don't care. I don't want to do it. You don't get it. That's not where my confidence is. Don't push me into a place that I'm not comfortable. That's I'm using that as the equivalent, because I'm wondering if this person was particularly petrified because Cancerian had such confidence in them. And it's like, don't you know, I'm not sure that I am able to think about building an empire and stand behind or beside somebody as awesome as you. What if I follow it up? Just like the employee who goes, what if I, freeze on stage and I make the whole company look bad when here, this is this really important conference. I can't do it. You're picking the wrong person. And yet the boss is like, nah, you're brilliant. I almost feel like Cancerian thought the world of them, but they themselves were afraid that they would fail or let Cancerian down. And I think that's because the devil's always about fear. What's so crazy is they have come to realize Cancerian thought the world of me. And now that there's less pressure, Now that they're, let's go back to the scenario with an employee. Maybe the employee is like, no, 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 no. And if the boss goes, okay, don't worry about it. It doesn't come up for another couple months. If you change your mind, let me know. You might want to take some public speaking classes or something like that and just see if maybe you're wrong. Maybe you do have the energy to do it, but it's up to you. And the boss just lays off. And it's like, okay, I do have 6 months to figure this out. Could I actually go and stand in front of a huge group of people? It's kind of the same thing here. Maybe they were fearful at first, but because Cancerian let off the gas pedal and said, look, it's all right. You're not ready for this. I get it. You don't have to be. If you ever are, let me know. And I feel like with this, maybe it's been 6 months or something, but with this time period of silence, with Cancerian stepping back, what we have is this person gained their confidence. This person is like, wait a minute, I reread all of our texts. And what I'm realizing is Cancerian thought I was amazing. They thought they wanted me to be the person beside them. Oh my God, I feel like $1,000,000. And actually, this feels kind of like a thrill. And actually, I feel like I am ready for this. This was never about a person that didn't love Cancerian. It was never about a person that didn't want to be with Cancerian. It's about their own fears and what they were and were not ready for. And thankfully, Cancerian was wise enough to say, I'm not going to reach out to them. I'm not going to touch base with them. I'm going to let them have silence. We're not going to push this thing forward. They would have to come to me if they ever want this. But I kind of feel like Cancerian intuitively knew, even if I can see that we could be so great together, they have to be able to see it that same way. And when they're ready and when they're not afraid of connection, commitment, relationship, whatever it is, public speaking, then they can come back to me. And I'll, maybe it means they never will, or maybe it means that they will be headed back my way. But regardless, they have to pick it. You know what? Great intuitive message on that one for Cancerian, like knowing when to allow somebody else to just sort things out on their own. All right, I'm going to leave this one here. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. Thanks for giving it a thumbs up and subscribing. I will see you guys again for another Cancerian video on Saturday. I'm all moved now, so life is settling back down. I had a big long distance move that I made. It took like almost 10 days just because it was done in like phases, and then setting up in the new place and all kinds of internet issues. And so finally, we've got kind of a nice smooth, like my life is clicked back in place now. So thank you guys for bearing with me as I've been bouncing for a bit. All right. Thanks again. Bye.